Hello, we're back today. You're in a tree, and I've got company today. Isn't that fun? Some of you watching may know him. He's not famous or anything. He's just a dear friend of mine. We're joined here today by Nathan Wissink, and we're going to talk about some of his philosophies and some things he believes in. Today will not be me talking as much. We're going to be listening to someone else's perspective, as this is Framed Ep12. And we're to hear from some more people. Bet you're getting bored of me by now. So, we're here with the man and his dog. Right? And his dog. Wish I still had one of those. Okay. Afternoon, sir. We're joined here today on this gloomy English day to speak about some things that you believe in. We've got a lot of notes here. You've taken quite a lot of notes. We love to see that. That's great. Yeah. And we're just going to get into whatever you fancy getting into today, really, because it's you taking the reins here and leading this, and I will try and give you some thoughts and perspectives if I can, and we'll get into it. So please, whatever you want to open on, whatever you want to speak about, we'll just get into that and try and have a nice little conscious flowing little conversation. So what are we saying, Mr. Nathan Wissink?
Today, I kind of just want to speak about being open-minded in the sense that life's tricky, cause you get hit with this source of you want to surround yourself with just these people, and you got social media, I feel a lot, and you've got teachers, and you got this big overwhelming narrative. Then you get counter narratives from your parents, you got this narrative from your friends, if you have a girlfriend or a partner, you got that narrative from them. Your life is filled with just people with a bunch of different opinions, and everyone can't get on with the same opinion. No. That's just not going to happen. No. And my view for studying history at the moment, I don't know, you want to call myself a historian?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Okay, as a historian then, you got to be open to it, because when you look back, for example, let's say Napoleon, you can't just take what the French media said back then, the newspapers, and what the printing press said about him back then. You can't just take that. You can't, let's say he had a diary, I don't know if he did or not, let's just say he did for our purpose, for example. Let's say he had a diary and you just base your sole opinion on his diary. You cannot just, that is not, in academic world, it's just not okay. And I think in real life that's not okay. So basically what I'm trying to say is your life shouldn't be founded in this one source. Your life should feed itself from other sources, other people's perspectives.
Yeah, no, I like that, and that's I guess that's kind of why. Apologies if the audio is a bit funny because of the wind. It's a bit of a treacherous day. I like that because I think that's the whole reason why I encourage comments so much, and also why I want to start talking to more people on here and more strangers, is because after a certain point, you can say as much as you want of your own opinions, but life's going to get very stale and boring if you don't inject some other opinions into that, a bit of excitement, if you will, because it's boring otherwise. I could sit here and I could speak to the camera 100 times, 100 episodes, just me. And mate, that's going to be so boring and unfulfilling, and that's why people enjoy podcasts so much with two people, or however many people, is because you have those opinions there that contradict, and then you can learn a lot more from two people, because then there's two sides of an argument, and then you can take from that whichever side you agree with and whatever. And yeah, I think as you mentioned earlier as well about social media, and it always circles back to social media. Social media are bad. But it always circles back to that, and as you mentioned, with too many people sharing their opinions and just having that as a bit of an overload, so you don't really know what to think. And then ultimately what I think as well is the problem with social media, the only people who win in terms of their opinions are the people who have the biggest influence, the biggest followings, the best, I don't know, physique, or just whatever, the biggest audience, the loudest voice. So people with the loudest voices win, and that influences a lot of your opinions, and it's hard to think for yourself these days. And I spoke about it in the past. It's tricky because of social media, and I think getting your opinions from more local sources is probably best, for sure.
Yeah, just to build on that, the idea that for me, it was very hard to kind of build my own opinion in a way.
Yeah.
I felt so when you're sat in history classes and seminars, you are hit with this overwhelming argument, and that to me can feel quite rigid.
Hold the mic like there. Yeah.
There, like that. Okay. So it feels quite rigid, and it feels to me like, why are we just hitting with this one narrative?
Yeah.
That's what I found frustrating with my A level,
Mm-hmm.
because the teacher would set up this argument, and then this argument would just be that,
Mm-hmm.
and to challenge that would be to be brave and to be like kind of like silly, like, why are you doing that? You're gonna lose out on marks. It just wasn't this thought out process, and I just me sitting there and I just disagreed. Like sometimes I would agree with what the teacher's saying, like the narrative that he was going with and the argument, like I would believe in.
Mm-hmm.
But just for the hell of it, just to push myself that little bit, I would just consciously disagree. I would, because you find yourself when you just agree, you can write forever.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy. And then that's when people, when they do their essays, especially in history, it's when they fail, because their whole like span of their essay is just how they agree, and they leave this little bit, because in history, right, it's really important to have a counter argument, really important. You've got to have that other side of the story, you just can't ignore it, which is very big nowadays. I'll go on to that, but I just try to think, let's argue against it, because if I argue against it, then my counter argument, if I'm arguing against it, is the thing I agree with, so it's gonna be dead easy just to counter it. So if I can challenge myself by going against it, put myself in someone else's shoes, basically, it led to a lot of openness. I know.
Yeah, for sure, and you'll obviously become way more well-rounded as a person doing that. It's just like a conscious practice, trying to go against your own beliefs and like challenge other people's beliefs as well, because I think that can lead to some really insightful arguments, or like not arguments, conversations. Sometimes arguments that can be the problem, I suppose. Some people get defensive, but yeah, I think that's definitely a good practice, and trying that just so you can be fluid as well, like socially. Just allowing yourself to be open to other opinions and counter arguments, and just knowing where you stand in like in a conversation or something like that.
Yeah.
I like it. It's good.
I want to hit you guys with a quote
Ooh.
from Nickelodeon show. I know you're gonna think, oh, it's for kids, but this show is underlined with a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, mate, you watch animations when you're older.
Yeah.
You see, there's a lot in them. That's very thought-provoking. That's why Megamind's my favourite movie.
Yeah.
It's because there's a lot in that, which is
Definitely.
for adults, and it's like very thought-provoking. So what are we talking about?
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Many of you know if you've watched it. Uncle Iroh is quite the wisdom,
Right.
like this ball of wisdom,
Okay.
and he says it's important to draw wisdom from many different places. If you take it from only one place, it becomes rigid and stale.
Mm-hmm.
So in the context of that, he's talking to his nephew, who thinks his whole life is just set on this one thing of defeating this one guy, and he says like he thinks he draws his power from like this one element, and there's 4 elements, and Uncle Iroh is saying to him like, I practice only one element, but I draw other things from other elements to improve my own element.
Yeah. Wow.
So his idea is that like, just because the other people are different to you doesn't mean they can't help you in bringing up your strength.
Yeah.
And your things. So his whole point is that, like, to put it in context, he's like, he uses water bending techniques. So the whole thing is like air bending and water bending with elements. And he says like he uses some like water bending techniques to fight with fire, and that helps him have advantage over people. And he's saying is like wisdom is like the currency of the world, and it's not this hunt for power. And like you can see that in how he's like grown older, and he's had this idea that like life's not meant for power, life's meant for you to be fulfilled, not for like everyone. It's okay if you want this higher purpose, I get that, but ultimately for me, I'm like, my fulfillment in life comes from me, and if I'm happy, and if other people around me, like my friends and family and my girlfriend, are happy, that makes me happy, and that's my fulfillment in life.
So you get something out of filling other people's cups, then, like you get, it's purpose. Well, it sounds weird, but it's true. It's purpose for, like, your purpose is found in making other people kind of better and filling their cup. But does that, because obviously I kind of felt that way for a while, and you know that. But
Yeah.
for me, that got tiring because
Yeah,
after a while, I was like, well, all I do is focus on other people, and I love helping
That's the thing.
people.
Yeah.
But where I feel that gets like annoying and bad is like when you're putting a lot of energy towards someone who's not as invested as you are.
Yeah.
And I imagine that I can imagine that gets frustrating for you sometimes, just having
Definitely.
that as like having that as thing. But it's very like noble, and it's an amazing perspective just to say like it's not about our achievements really. Like on paper, yeah, like when you die, like all your achievements, like they're gone, you know, all your material or whatever. It's about the connections you make and the family and all that, and I love that. I love that connection to Airbender. I've never seen Airbender.
Oh, you need to watch it. It's brilliant.
But I love the connection there. So saying like, yeah, you can have a focal point, but you shouldn't be, as you said, rigid. You shouldn't be like a stiff. You should be open to other perspectives, because that's what life's about, and that's why I love this and I love talking to people, and that's what I get a lot out of. It's because it's all these other perspectives you can draw from. Like I can sit here and I can go, yes, I'm going to be the best business person in the world on my winter arc grind set hustle mode. But like that is shit, and it's unfulfilling, and I've realised that from trying it. And what I actually get something out of is just learning stuff from other people.
Definitely.
And drawing from things to create me. Like I'm not just me. What composes me is a lot of other people, like other people's opinions and things I've stuck with and like heard from other people and thought, oh, that's interesting, like, oh, maybe I should start trying that. And over time, as you speak to more people and you gather more wisdom, you change a lot, but you're never just yourself. You're always drawing from other people and other people's experiences and like knowledge. And obviously, whatever you don't agree with, you discard and you fuck it off, and you're like, okay, well, I don't believe in that. But that's what it's all about, I think, is not being rigid and always being open to other people's opinions and practices and ways of seeing stuff. I love that.
Yeah, I want to speak to you saying about when you die. And yeah, we're going to go to death. Okay, Jesus, we're going there. Right. I know you went there a couple episodes, like not last episode, the episode before that. You spoke a bit about death.
Yeah, Ruby's
sad
dead,
passing
man.
of Rubus.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. I saw a quote. I might mess this up. Someone in the comments find the exact quote, please. Yeah. But this guy was basically saying his legacy is not his work. It's not his power he gets. It's not the money he gets. It's not the house he has. It's not the car he has. It's nothing. It's no money. It's nothing. He says his legacy wants to be pulled through his children, and I love that, because I think legacy should not be something that you should be so focused on. Why should you care if someone thinks about you after death?
I think it's an ego thing, isn't it?
It's a massive ego thing. Yeah. And I think my proudest achievement, will be if I ever have kids, God willing, or whatever you want to believe in, that I do. Like, I do. And like, hopefully my biggest thing that I do in life is raising them right and giving them the correct setup in life. And that's my biggest thing. And I want my impact to be them.
Yeah, well, I suppose you say you don't care about legacy, but if you have kids and install a little bit of yourself into them, obviously it's the whole idea of you passing their wisdom on. They're taking from you what they want to, but that is your legacy, I suppose, isn't it? Because
that's what I want. Kids,
and they have a little bit of you, then there's a little bit of you that they're going to put into the world, and it's slowly going to, it's going to dilute, obviously, but it's going to slowly carry on. That's your legacy, though. So like that's Nathan Wissink's kids. You know, those are. He's done a good job at raising them or whatever. And I wanted to mention, like, talking about legacy, like material legacy and all that. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because it really is an ego thing. But for me, that's a big one. Like, I care about that. Not in the legacy of children, just like having a legacy. I was literally talking to you on a walk here, like saying I want to make movies one day. Why do you think I want to do that? Yeah. Because that is a piece of media which I've created, which exists forever.
Yeah, people want to put their own little stamp on the world.
That's what I mean.
People do that in their own different ways.
That's why I want to. That's why I want to do something like that on a big scale, so that it has an effect on people, like forever, like profoundly, and that's like my stamp. But it's an interesting one, or like if I'm ever gonna get out of that headspace of like wanting to do things like that. But it wouldn't be a bad thing, and I'd like to.
I get the purpose of trying to go for something big and have a stamp on the world, and I love that, and that's good. But
is it just? It's just ego driven, though.
It's ego. It's like, you see this KSI fella on YouTube. He speaks a lot about legacy, and he says he wants to be remembered as this like big tough guy, did music, did everything, and like did all that. And it's like, yeah, I get that, but for me, that does not seem fulfilling. That seems like you're just going to be chasing the next thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And to me, that seems tiring.
Yeah.
And that seems like a waste of your time to be constantly chasing the next best thing. Like, when are you going to be satisfied?
There's no fulfillment in that.
There's no fulfillment, and I think the key to happiness in life is when you're fulfilled.
Yeah.
It's like when you have to like look back on yourself and reflect.
When do you get fulfilled? How do you get fulfilled?
I don't think you'll be fulfilled until the end of your life, personally.
Well, that's shit then, isn't it?
Well,
because like
that's the whole drive.
We all want to be sat there on our
Deathbed.
deck. No.
Or just a deck chair. You swing
on our
chair.
deck chair.
Yeah.
It's the sun's setting. We're with our partner.
Yeah.
We're like 40 years old, and we're thinking, "I'm content. I'm happy with this."
That's what I want.
But will that be the case though? Because
possibly. Or you might think I'm not fulfilled until I make sure I make my first million, or I make sure I get my dream car, or it's like.
But when you do those things, then the barriers push back again.
Exactly.
You get your dream car.
No,
now I want my dream house.
I know I said that's bad, but it's also good in a way. Because if that drives you to the point where you feel fulfilled, it's just knowing when to stop. For me, I think knowing when to stop and knowing for you to think and look back and go, you know what, I actually have enough for me. Then I think that's when a lot of, I think rich people only get that because they have a load of money. Like Mark Cuban, he's like absolutely minted.
Yeah,
he's got more money than sense.
Yeah.
Like he's got to the point now because he's got a ridiculous amount of money that he realizes in himself that he's got enough and he doesn't need anything more for him. And I think he's realized he could have done that years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite tricky. If you ever listen to a podcast of his, you can see him battling with that in his head. You can see like how back in the day when he was living in a room with his mate and he was like trying to make his millions, he was just kind of pressured into this thing. And I want to talk about that, like this locking yourself away. It's like whole grind mentality nowadays with a lot of young men. This kind of like, but that's you're good. You don't. I'll explain that. Like because Andrew Tate and other people like that who are just forced in this narrative that you cut yourself off from society and you Sigma male and and like your opinion's right and like this wrong idea of stoicism. I think in philosophy there's only one way. There's not, and like this locking you away. This is what leads to young men, especially with depression and anxiety, because it's overwhelming. This sense of just like, I think as young men you get this sense of like you want to do something great with your life, and I think every young man can agree with that. You get this certain feeling at one point in your life and you're like, you know what, I want to do something great in my life. I want to achieve something. I want to be proud of myself. I want to, whatever it is. And I feel like a lot of them get too inward with that, and that leads to a lot of depression and anxiety, which isn't good.
Well, it's interesting because the whole kind of point of these hustle people is they're trying to save men's mental health and like make a stamp on men.
In a way, they're damaging it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's taken them, in my opinion, it's kind of taken them from one extreme to the next. Or like for me personally, I found that was kind of the case. So obviously, I wasn't like I could say like, oh, I wasn't in a great place because I wasn't doing all that. Like, yeah, fair enough. Then I started doing all that, and all my bloody hustle mentality, locking yourself away and like grinding this out. And
can I just say, I personally, looking at him as a friend as he did this, I just saw him get filled with this kind of anger to the world. Like he looked on the world like it owed him something. And it just didn't. And as a friend, it's frustrating to see. But you gotta, because when someone's in the headspace like that, you can't talk them out of it. You gotta let them realise it themselves. And I'm very thankful that he has. And right now he's full of wisdom, this man, and he's got his head nice and straight, I think so. I don't think I do, honestly, but it's I think I'm on the right path. You are, definitely.
Is what I'm saying, because I've spoken about this before. If you're pursuing business, if a business isn't purposeful, then literally there's no point. If it's something you don't care about, which serves people you don't care about, like you're going towards nothing. You're just going in the completely wrong direction, and that leads to depression or anxiety or whatever, because what you're doing is you're building yourself into a prison which you don't have the key to. I watched the video and the guy said that. It's like, I love that though. It's like a lot of the time having a business is you're building a prison around yourself and you can't let yourself out because you don't know how, because you've been so grind, hustle, you know, do this. A few years go past, and you take a second, you burn out or whatever, and you look around, you think, shit, like, I couldn't take a day off if I fucking wanted to, because I've built myself into this prison, and there's no escape from it. And I feel if you pursue something you actually care about and just understand that, listen, you can actually do anything. So
Definitely.
whatever you're interested in, of course you can excel in that and you can be successful from that.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, and it's purposeful work and you really enjoy it, I think that's a prison you can let yourself out from.
Definitely.
Or even if
It's
you
not a
can't,
prison.
it's not a prison. No, it's not a prison.
It's a life fulfilled, because personally, my advice to everyone would be, forget about, I feel like so many people look at careers now or jobs and they look for the highest paycheck, and they look for the paycheck, and they try and fit themselves in a box that doesn't suit them. And it's like, why are you doing that? My opinion is, no matter the money, no matter what it is, like, let's say a lad wants to do, really likes the idea of going into nursing, but like it's this stereotype of a women's job, you know, and it's like not that great paid, because NHS, fuck the government, fuck them, they don't pay NHS enough. But anyway, well, another day. It's just this idea of like, you gotta have the highest amount of money and you gotta earn that, and then why are you trying to chase the highest amount of money? Why? You gotta chase something that you're passionate about and you love. Yeah. It's an ego thing. And I think a lot of you see a lot of people like who do their own businesses and who are writers who take that leap away and challenge themselves, and you can see that. And these people that commit themselves to jobs that aren't well paying, and you ask them about the money, they don't care. No. They're more interested in their work and the people. That's like great example, NHS staff. Like nurses and what they're getting paid is abysmal compared to like the work they do. It's awful. And the stresses on that healthcare system. But if you ask them every day of their life, like, are you fulfilled in what you do? They are, because it's like genuinely.
Some of them for sure,
yeah. And like genuinely, it's what they want to do in their life. They want to look after people. It's what makes them happy, and that's what makes the world turn around. It's like there is generally someone out there, I can guarantee it, it's like happy being a bin man. Like honestly, it sounds so ridiculous to say, or they're happy being a politician, or they're happy being a business owner, or they're happy working a 9 to 5 when they're in office, because they like the structure of life. Like that is okay, you know. And I just want to put it out there online that it's okay to have that idea of life.
No, I agree.
You don't have to be this 1 in a million every time.
No, I agree, and that's the thing. It's purported, isn't it, that like you got to be some extraordinary thing. And you know what? I'll caveat you, and I will say like, you don't have to be, but you can. Like I will say that, like I truly believe that anyone can go on to do exceptional things. Oh yeah,
I'm not saying like
some people just don't want to, and admittedly, I'm driven by money. I'll say that, like for a lot, not just like that's not the be all and end all of life, but for me, I understand that to achieve the life I want to live, I need money. Right. So I'll take back what I said. I'm not like driven by money. Like it's a be all and end all. As long as it's not the be all and end all. As long as I'm doing something I enjoy. And like making enough so I can exist, like that's cool. That's all I want. Exactly. But if we really like think about like the dream life I've imagined for myself, like obviously that requires money. But my problem is that I was trying to get that in the wrong way. So I was going around all these business models that would on paper make me loads of money quickly, but then none of it was fulfilling. It was all bullshit. So now I've challenged myself, and like you said, I actually made myself challenged by saying, right, I want to make money and I want to have this dream life, but I'm going to do it in a very challenging way, which isn't this get rich quick thing. It's this more purposeful, potentially more straining thing, because it's like, I want to have this podcast. It averages about 20 views a video, but at some point it won't. That's why it's a more challenging thing. Yeah, exactly. But it'll take a while to get to the point where I can make a living off of this, and that's why I picked my struggle, because it's more fulfilling. And I guess to your point of like, there's happy bin men, and of course there is. You just got to pick your struggle. Like if you want to, because nothing's ever going to be like 100% perfect. You're never going to be living like, oh, this is amazing and all that, unless you're like a monk, and I might get to that at some point. Who knows?
Maybe.
But you just got to pick your struggle. Like if you want to have the struggle of having a job, then you can. Or if you want to have a struggle of having a business, you can. They're two very different things, but it's about like, what do you want to do? And you don't have to do anything.
You can do anything.
Yeah, you don't have to have a business. You don't have to have a job. You can actually just do whatever the fuck you want. But we'll end on this. I'll say this because the phone will be giving up soon.
Oh god.
I'll say, don't. So obviously, I say, you know, you can do anything because you can.
You can.
Whether it's a job or a business, just don't limit limit yourself.
No.
In that way, because as I was talking to you on the way here, we were talking about movie creation and just like all the random shit. It's just about recognizing that whatever you actually want to do, if you put the energy towards it, then you can do it. You'll be rewarded. Exactly. And so if it's anything like you want to have a podcast, or is it it's oversaturated? No, it's not. Like you can do it. Just consistency and Or if you want to be the world's best fucking bin man, man, do it. You can.
If you want to be the world's best insurance person, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to be like, for me, my idea is sitting there on a computer and looking at numbers like a banker all day long. Fucking, like, it sounds awful to me. Yeah. But someone out there, to a listener out there, you might look at numbers and you might think, blooming love them. You might think that's the career for me. So it's different strokes to different people. It just comes back to that. It's like it's why the world turns around. It's why we have so many different sectors of jobs and life. And I feel like schools and education is doing a bad job of...
Fuck that, by the way.
A bad job of, like, saying, like, there's so many doors you have to open and it's hard to get into. It's not. Like, there's been so many examples of people going from nothing to everything. Like, just find a path, put your energy into it, actually go for it, be serious when you go for it, make that your goal. Like, just try and connect with people who are in that space and then use that and propel yourself forward. Like, you're like a rocket ship, so you gotta go up and you gotta keep bouncing off, you gotta keep going through different layers, you know? You can't just go, oh, I want to do this and kind of take off and then go, oh, actually, what am I going to do? You can't just stay there. It's not going anywhere.
It's important to know when to pivot, though, because I've pivoted a lot, and it's important to know when to pivot, especially when you're young, so that you don't end up trapping yourself into something you're actually not interested in. Like, I could still be sat here today doing an SMMA, right? And maybe it'd be doing well. I could be doing 10 grand a month and all that. But I realised that there was an exact moment I was like, shit, I need to pivot because this is bad. Yeah. And I've done it a few times, but it's like people are scared to pivot, and they're scared to go, like, after you've... Because a lot of people are scared to pivot because they've talked a lot. Like, the amount of times I've said to you, I'm going to do this, but I've pivoted. But it's been hard for me to pivot because I've been like, I've told people now, and like, that's my commitment. It's almost like a commitment to you.
You can change.
But you can't be scared to pivot. That's literally so important, pivot. Especially when you're young.
Definitely pivot.
Yeah, especially when you're young. If you realise it's something you're not interested in, don't be scared just do other things, like try shit because you're young. And the worst thing would be getting to 40 and realising, this is a shit career.
You didn't give that a go.
And I realised when I was young, but I just didn't because other people thought, because I was scared and whatever. Have a crack at it, pivot. Don't be scared to pivot. I've been doing it. I might not continue doing this podcast if there's ever a point when I realise, maybe something else that tickles my fancy. I'll go and do that, mate. Exactly. I will. Because I'm young, I can. We can afford to pivot while we're young, and I'm assuming you're young listening.
Hopefully.
So man, right. I'm going to wrap up.
Thank you, guys.
Getting to a half an hour mark. Oh. I hope this was productive. I hope we made sense. That's always helpful. Wasn't as much of a waffle session. I think this was really good, actually, really insightful and productive. I enjoyed having you speak.
Yes, it was good. Thank you.
It was great. It was nice not having just to do all the speaking myself.
Yeah.
And,
it's nice bouncing off you, isn't it?
Yeah. And leave comments. Give this guy some feedback. Give me some feedback.
I'll take the mean ones, but Forbes, you're reading. Piss off. You know, my mates go away, but everyone else, I want to see in the comments with some nice stuff. Yeah. You know.
Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and man, I hope you've taken something from today. I mean,
I hope you have.
We bounced around.
We have, really
big time.
I feel like we could have gone on for like hours.
And we could have, and that's why at some point this will be like a bigger thing, and then we can go on for hours.
Hopefully. Joe Rogan style, like 3 hours.
Exactly.
don't know if someone want to listen to 3 hours, but might as well put it out
Maybe
there.
there's an audience for it. They're out there.
Definitely.
But yeah, hope it was
Thank
cool.
you.
Let us know what you think. Peace and love. We'll have this guy on again. We will.
Good.
Yeah.
I'd like to be back.
A few more guests into the future because I actually really enjoyed this. And yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I love you.